Okay, and here we go. So today we'll check with the RE framework completely in the on a level of coding. But how many of you are still not able to understand RE framework concept, like how things will work and how things will move on?
Good morning, everyone.
Guys, speak a bit louder. I'm not at my home. First, understand that. So you need to speak a bit louder. I don't have my devices. Uday, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Vajra.
Yes, Vajra.
Please speak, or else how would I know? Okay. Right. So let's go with UiPath and also with this. So I'm talking again on the basis of concepts rather than only on the code. So stay attentive on the conceptual level. So yesterday we completed close to 20 plus interview questions in RE framework. Just check with the team's notes. You will find all the details out there. Ambika, quickly can you share update on the status of testing?
Actually, yesterday I couldn't attend the session because I was not well.
That's
Yesterday
fine.
night, yeah, I checked a locator and server. We have got the Nugget file.
Mm,
When I try to download it, I'm getting some error on the queue and assets that they are not available or not much information is available for it. So I have shared the screenshot to the team. So
mhm.
they are still checking. Server Sindhura is checking and locator Valdemir is checking. Actually, he says locator for him, he says there is no queue and asset, but when I download and create a process, it is showing me some queue and asset information. So I'll discuss with him later.
Got it. So today is 25th of February. So we will have one more week left. So stay attentive and check with all the sessions. Every session will be new. Every session will be important. Next. Okay. What kind of process can be applied in RE framework?
Repetitive.
Vajrang, if our project is transaction based, then we should be use RE framework.
Okay, just a second. Okay. If it is repetitive, okay, then transaction based, okay. Then
Large scale complexity.
okay. Um, complex project.
Not, not having much changes after it is implemented.
Not having much changes, okay. Okay. Then
Whichever reduces the manual effort.
whichever reduces the manual effort. Okay. I cannot check in the chat. I have only one screen. So please unmute and talk. What happened? No other options?
If it is rule based.
Rule based. Okay.
I mean, if it will not stop, it will move to the next transaction. Such kind of things, I think.
What? I didn't get you, Mari.
I mean, like normal sequence, anything get failed, right? It will get stopped. In RE framework, it will try to process the next item.
You mean to say if we need to implement retry for transactions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we can apply RE framework for any kind of process.
Interesting answer. Okay. Come on, answer, please. At least check in Google and answer. I don't mind anything, but you should know what is the answer really meant about. That's the main intention. Why should we use RE framework?
Because it has exception handling, logging, retry mechanism.
So retry is already applied. Exception handling,
Okay. Logging.
default exception handling. Okay. Logging in place. Okay, then
And also we can check the exception screenshots also.
default system exception screenshots are available.
And we can run the process through orchestrator jobs. It is not required to run the job in the machine the code is developed.
Any kind of process can be executed from orchestrator.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, what are the other things?
Reusable component.
Any kind of components or any kind of process can be created with reusable components, but yeah, use existing reusable structure. Okay.
In RE framework, all the transaction are independent. Like suppose once the data is fetched, like in get transaction, and it has some system exception, it will not wait. It will not get stuck there. It will move on to the next transaction.
Even
item.
without RE framework, you can code something like that, right? Because if you use get transaction item or get queue item, you will still get one transaction item only. The process will work only with one item. Even without RE framework, you can do that.
If you have a bunch of transactions at one go, you can process all of them. Like
Anytime
you-
only one transaction can be processed by one bot, not bunch.
like if the queue has many transactions, it would like process one by one, right?
Correct. But why RE framework will come into picture? Even with a small process flow, you can still run with the same effect, right?
I think
It
it
has
is
come with
scalable.
pre-built logic.
Sorry,
RE
one
framework has
perspective.
come with
Go ahead, please. Tell. With
So
what?
RE framework has come with pre-built logic with where we can set the transaction status for every item, whether it can be a success, business exception, or a system exception.
Default code for setting transaction
Status.
status. Okay.
It follows the best practices to write the transaction based coding, and where there are different states which needs to be like the transaction will be moving. So it is easy to maintain, configure, scalability is there.
Configure, scalable. Okay. Okay. Next. See, we are going to discuss about each and every point that you mentioned over here. So think and answer.
Also, we can split the processing of items between multiple bots.
Even that can be done without RE framework. You mean to say we can have separate dispatcher and performer codes?
Correct. Yeah.
But that can be done without RE framework as well, right?
Okay.
Okay. So all these answers are wrong answers. Okay. Just a second. So why the top answers are wrong? Can we tell?
It is common for UiPath, not specific to RA framework.
So all the 5 points that you have mentioned are common for any kind of automation. Okay. Why? Because for a process to be automated, should it be repetitive? Should it be transaction based? Complex projects is something we can add, not complex projects altogether, but we can change it to here. But because since the logic is already in place, we can add as much data as we want. Let me explain you that. Complex projects. Okay, so every process should be rule based for an automation to be in place. Okay, so these factors will not determine if it should be implemented in RE framework or not. I like this point that any project can be implemented in RE framework. Because see, RE framework is a structure where we can add the code in the existing structure. It's like, okay, I have a template now. I can build whatever I want. See, our bodies are skeletons, right? Everyone has the same skeleton. The only thing that will depend on how we view is with the flesh as well as with the skin. In the same way, if we have the basic skeleton available, we can write as much code as we want. That can be easy to handle. Reason is, see, how many codes have you seen, Ambika? Or with your team, how many codes have you seen? Close to
3 to 4.
exactly. So is each and every code independent of other code? It's not matching anything anywhere. With structure and all, because everyone writes their own code, right?
Yes, yes.
But what if you want to give it to others? If others want to understand your code, then how can they understand? Where can they see that, okay, you have login logic here, logout logic somewhere? That is static, that's not changing. Okay, so this structure is predetermined in RE framework.
Yes.
Add code, just a second. add code in predefined structure. Okay, so when we are doing this, even though there are 50 projects, where will login always be available in?
Yes.
Can you answer? Where will login always be available in?
Init stage.
Will login always be available? Login will always be in init all applications. So if I want to change something in the login, where should I go?
To always go to the init and check what are applications to.
Correct. So if there is anything that's failing in init all applications, then I can just go ahead and see what's there. What is the problem out there? Should I change the complete code for that?
No.
Not required, right? Okay. So now what about logout? Where the logout will be?
Exit
And I think
those applications.
Close all applications. Okay. Then where will the actual code will be?
Process.
Okay. How are we getting new transaction every time?
Get transaction item.
Is it get transaction item? Okay. Now, do we have by default exception handling?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we have the same structure, even though there are 100 members, we will have the same structure of code if everyone follows this pattern. Is it right? And now, is it easy to maintain?
Yes.
Okay. And since we are working only on the code, all the exceptions will be handled by default. Screenshots are there by default. Okay. So that is the reason why we should use RE framework, and even for complex process. Yes. For state machine is what we'll use for complex process, but RE framework is again built on state machine. Again, one more important question. What is RE framework based on? Built on? The answer is state machine. Someone said it is transactions. See, any process can be a transactional process, right? If it is taking the data one item at a time. There is no difference. So understand how you answer in an interview. If you say, why are you using RE framework? And if you say something like, okay, I have something called repetitive process and I use RE framework. And the most important thing that I see or I face or initially I faced is, how do you design your process? Okay, then I need all the architects to answer right this at this point of time. Can we have each architect at a time? I cannot call the names. Please come up yourself. How can you design any process? Okay, let's take an example of calculator only. How can you design the calculator process? Should I call names? I need to switch back many things. Please.
EDD should be there and calculator
Yeah.
should be installed.
One person at a time, please. Yeah.
EDD should be there in place. Calculator should be installed in the machine.
Okay, with respect to code. Okay, PDD and calculator should be there in place. Yeah, please continue. How will you design the process?
I think first we have to figure it out how the users are taking the data, inputting the file, and what is the and break into smaller you can say units of or the states, and then we have to divide different stages, and then based on this we can it's like
Anand,
worked out
don't say in general. Anand, don't say in general. For calculator process, how will you design? Tell me that.
So first we have to check from where the file is coming, from where the data is coming,
Okay.
which application the user is using for calculator, uh, what are the you can say the input data that the system can take, and what are the exceptions,
Okay.
and then what are the operands that is available, and then what is the desired output based on that transaction items. Based on that, we have to write, we have to develop the logic, then how the application will be giving the result, how it will be captured, and how it will be saved, and then how it will be moved to if the orchestrator is involved, then how it will be connected with the orchestrator, and how the user will interact using the assistant.
Okay. Very well, Anand. Thank you. Any other answers? Guys, you need to pull up your teams. Bhargav?
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So we would look at what are the inputs, and
So if it is the same answer, don't say that.
to-
Anything else, don't say that. Anything else.
and another block of code to perform the operations on it. Yeah, so what are the inputs and what are the exceptions?
Firstly, Vajrang, we need to make exceptional handling mechanism in our workflow
Okay. Can you
if
please?
we are designing. Exceptional handling, retry of scope.
Okay. So yeah. So I'm not sure how, but everyone said the correct answers. Okay. So you never went. What I used to answer, I will also tell that. I used to be too much of a development guy. Then I started answering like, okay, if there is any process, I will have things in initialization, log in the initialization, log out in the logout, and process all the process data. And if there is any exception, RE framework will handle by itself, like all the exceptions. Okay. This was the answer I was giving in one of the interview. Then I got to know from the interviewer like what should be the correct answer. See, when we are designing a process, all the solution architects are right, whatever they have said. We need to concentrate more on the exceptions. How many times are we retrying? Who should get the exceptions in case of any exception? Exception emails in case of any exception. If the process is success, how the next steps should move on, and how many bots should be configured, and if there is already a process in it, then what is the execution time of the process? Is there any wait time for the current process? So these are the answers a experienced solution architect will give. Someone who is faking experience like me would have given something like, okay, I will use RE framework for any process, and it will be login in the login state, and I will talk only about the code, not about the process. So that was the mistake that I made. After I corrected it, I cracked close to 30-40 interviews. Can you understand the difference? Okay, it's not, when you're designing a process, it's not only about a code. You need to have a greater idea and greater ideology on how your code will function, even if there is exception. It's more about okay, now the code is failed, can it restart itself? Can it retry for itself? So these things should be monitored. And even for testing team, you should always see that how you are not the code, not specifically with the code. You should see what are the issues that you can face and can they be rectified, and without user intervention, can they be restarted? That's what you need to see, testing team. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the answers. I'm very happy for your answers, actually. Okay, thanks. Now let's go into code. I'm saying that I would like to go into code, but again, I'm getting more questions to take it up. So let's say that what is the input data for RE framework? What can be input data for RE framework?
Bajrang, it should be a queue item, data table, database. It could be a string and it could be a mail message.
I need to have explanation. Please
In
explain.
in queue item, basically we are extracting the data from queue point. In a data table, actually in that scenario, we are reading Excel and we are using data table in it. If we are using data table, we do
Let
not.
me just a second. Let me just make it simple for you. Let's add a table. Okay, and in this table we'll add out the details. Okay, so here we have types of inputs. We have it. So this is complete data, one transaction item. Okay, now let's understand what is what. Okay, now here we are saying a Excel sheet. Excel sheet, can we call it as a data table?
Yes, Bajrang.
So what is one thing that we are working on in data table?
Data
It's
row.
data row, yeah.
Data row. So understand, and at an atomic level, what is finally our transaction item is what we need to consider. That is our item that we need to focus on. Only one item is what we need to focus on. Let's assume that we have columns. Then what should be our transaction item?
It could be get row item.
Wrong.
Data column only, no?
One column.
One column.
Okay.
String.
I think same string.
One character.
If we have a collection of string, then it could be correct, or it could be a particular word.
Array of integers.
One item.
So what is transaction item for array of integers?
An integer, one integer.
And integer, yes.
Okay. So here I would like to bring in some keyword called transaction item. So this is what we will use, okay, in the complete code to work on any item. Okay, just remember this is a keyword. Okay, like that we have tons of keywords. If we are going with the robotic enterprise framework, so we are trying to understand the keywords, then we are trying to understand the logics. Okay, one more thing. If it is a queue, then
Queue item.
one queue item. Here I would like to add in one more point since you have brought up this one. Q one item, one Q item. Okay, so a queue can have how many items? Any number, right?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Okay, so there is one more thing that I would like to add in. Just a second. Okay, here you go. So output, or we can just say open main workflow. Okay, see, you need to know each and every variable inside main. Okay, so transaction item is one item. So what is the variable type by default for transaction item?
Q item.
Okay, now the type can be changed to anything. Transaction item by default will be Q item in RE framework. Okay, now if I'm using data row, then what should the data type be?
If it is data table, the transaction item would be data row.
Okay, what if it is area of data rows?
One single row.
Area of data rows?
One single row.
Yes. So what if it is a folder and if folder contains files?
Okay. A file, one file.
File.
You can say file, or you can also say a file path. Okay. If it is a folder, so all the files, one file path. So every file path can be a transaction item, and that's a string. Okay. Now what else? We are going with the items. So what is transaction number? Yeah, this is important thing. Transaction number, what is it?
It's an integer. If you are
By
asking about
default,
its
it is
type,
integer 32. Okay, what is the exact use of transaction number?
By default, its value will be 1. So when a transaction number is either success or business exception, it will be incremented by 1.
Can you explain it in more simpler way?
So each time when you fetch a transaction, it will be incremented.
Okay. Rather than that, can we say like, okay, now I have 100 items. How can I find which item I'm processing? So that will be maintained by transaction number. Okay. If there are rows of data, so if the transaction number is 1, then we will fetch like data table dot rows of transaction number. So every time we complete one transaction, this will be incremented. Okay. Transaction number will determine which item are we working on. Now the issue is transaction number will not have effect if we are using queues. Why?
Because queue item always will fetch whichever is the latest new one. So in progress, it will not go back.
The item type is orchestrator queue, or input is from orchestrator. Okay, so I would like one person to answer. Okay, can someone raise who never started with RE framework till now? Chandrika, can you please unmute?
This Vajran, I'm also.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
one person is enough, please. Thank you. Okay, just to understand. Okay, now Chandrika, when we are getting transactions from orchestrator, we are getting queue items, right? Get queue item. Have you
Yes.
worked on it?
Mm.
Yeah. So do we require a transaction number really to get a next item? Because if I are working with data rows, okay, I need to get first row. I need to use index. If I am using area of items, I need to get fifth item. So I need index. But for get queue item, do I really require an index?
No, maybe because in orchestrator the queue count will be changing whenever the item is processed.
In orchestrator, you will get only one item at a time from orchestrator. So there is no need for you to update, or the code is already available to increment the transaction number. But the only thing is you just need to concentrate on getting the item, but the transaction number will not have much effect on it.
Okay.
But if you are using other than queue, whatever you use, transaction number will definitely come into picture because you are using it as an index.
Okay.
Okay, just stay on hold, because see, if I'm talking to Chandrika, it means that I'm talking to everyone who don't know RE framework. Please understand that. Okay, now we are talking about retry. Okay, transaction fields or transaction data. So what is this transaction data, or when it can be useful?
When we know what kind of transaction we are going, like on what data we are going to do the transaction, like is it an Excel or files?
Mostly correct, but the correct answer would be
The
all the
data that is
transaction,
written in the complete data, the
all the
transaction.
transactions list or complete data. So this complete data is transaction data. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are taking a data table, transaction data will be a data table. If you are taking columns, transaction data will be columns. Okay. That's how you need to identify the picture. So any kind of all the items that we are working on will be transaction data. Next, system exception and business exception are also variables. System exception, business rule exception. So these are variables. So what is the type of system exception and what is this type of business rule exception?
Boolean maybe?
System exception is of type exception. So like variable. So if you see here, this is a queue item, right? This is an integer. This is a dictionary. This is an integer. This is also a type of variable called exception. Okay. For business exception, so this is not business rule exception. This is business exception. The variable type is business rule exception. Okay, just remember that like integer, like string, this is also one data type where it has a specific purpose. So can you tell me why integer is used?
Sorry, why?
Why integer is used?
I didn't get you. Where we are using integer here?
Anyone can answer. Why integer will be used? What is the use of that data type?
Vajraling, in context of transaction data or
In general.
anything?
In general.
If we want data
For
type
dealing
in a
with
number, that
For
we
dealing
are
with
using integer.
So if
Yeah,
you are,
dealing with numbers.
yeah, if you are dealing with some non-negative or non-decimal numbers, then we are using integers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So string, what is the use of string?
Array of characters, if it is there, then we are
Long
using.
array of characters, but a combination of characters, not an array, because array will be separated by comma. Okay. And what is requirement for character?
One character is fine.
So if it is A, B, C separately, each and every character is of type character. So in the same way, system exception is of a type exception where it contains any errors. It can handle any errors, or it can contain data of any errors. The same goes with business rule exception. Okay, I'm not going deep into what type of sub exceptions will be there in it, but try to remember that these are the keywords for RE framework. In the interview questions, this is what you will get. Okay, now I have items. Now, if I want to fetch one item, what can be the item? So if I want to fetch fifth item, okay, so what can be the transaction number? So the transaction number will be 5. Okay, so the transaction item will be, so what will be the transaction item if I want to fetch fifth item? Not with respect to queues in general. See, I said RE framework can be used with anything. In queues, by default, we will get it by queue item. But in general, if you are using any other data type, then how can we get it?
Firstly, we need to mention that data table or any collection. After that, we need to pass its indexing part.
So can we just
Whatever is
say
related.
transaction data of transaction number? Because transaction data will contain all the data of transaction
Yes,
number
yes.
will give me the particular index.
Is particular, yes. Because transaction data is something like that, maybe data table.
Yes. So if the transaction data is data table, then I can just go ahead and add dot rows. Okay. So things in short, if you want to get some value at a specific index, then you should give the transaction data is the complete data we are getting. And in that, we need to pass in the index. Okay. So let's assume we have, whom we have? Anand, can you please unmute?
Yes, Vajra.
Now, if I want to have sixth item, okay, of an array, then how can I pass it? An array is something like ARR of names. I need to get the sixth item. How can I get the
6,
sixth item?
right?
Sorry.
6. Okay.
Irrespective of the number, don't think about the number. Just think about transaction number, because that is what it should contain. That is a variable, right? It should contain 6, but by default, you should always give transaction number. Okay. So every time, if any data, if you want to assign, it should always be transaction number. But prior to assigning a transaction number, its value should be set to 6 or 5. Okay. Do you want me to explain this again?
Yeah, it will be better. Yeah.
Okay. See, we are having transaction number as a indexing part, right? Okay. Can we add or can we change the transaction number? So instead of transaction number, if we don't use this transaction number, then how can we get it? We can get something like ARR of 7 will give me the 6th index, right? Because ARA starts from 0th index. No idea for everyone? Okay, let me take how many of you.
ARR of 7 might give the 8th value.
Okay, so ARR of 6 will give you the ARR of 5 will give you the correct value.
6th value, yes.
Yes. But how many of you are able to understand this logic? Everyone, please keep your hands down and just raise the hand. I just need to understand the numbers. So you guys understood it or you don't understand that? Everyone raising the hand.
Understood, understood.
Okay, great. I'll move ahead. I'll move forward without any delay. Okay, so these are the things that we have. Now I will add a simple business logic or business case, and here we have. So this I'll cut it. Okay, so cut, and so transaction data we have. Okay, paste. Okay, sorry. Okay, let it be. We'll check it later. Okay, now the process is simple. I have a folder, and I need to extract info from each file and move or send mail to a team. So this is my simple use case. Okay, now can you tell me how can I build it? Right now we are going to build enough of descriptions. So let's have this one in RE framework and in the project. Go add new. So we already have data, and in this data there is called input folder. So I will add all the files. So this is placeholder, right? I'll just add copy. Okay, I'll just add a new text file. So this is one. Copy, paste, 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 paste. So I have all the information. Now I need to write data in it, or I can just write current date and time in it. So that is my requirement. I'll just change my requirement so that it will be easy. Okay, or extract info from it. I need to write current date time in each file. See, anything can be changed into RE framework. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now, how can I do that? Can you just tell me the steps? How can I do that? In initialization, what should I do? So where should I have logic? Can you just tell me the steps, please? What should I do?
Initialization,
Leave about initialization and all. Just tell me steps. What should I do?
you need to pick one notepad at a time.
Even before that.
So we need to get list of a list of all files and
Okay, good option. Get all files to process. Okay. Then what should I do?
and then take a single file and then process.
Take single file. Okay. Process, what should I do?
Okay, what is the logic?
I just need to write the date and time. Write date, current date and time.
Okay.
Okay, that's it, nothing else. So I have only 3 steps. Now let's go into RE framework and see where should we add the logic. Okay, where can I get all the files to process? How many times should I do this operation? Getting all the files to process.
One time in first run get init.
So can I just add init in that? Can I just add in the first run? Can this be a logic?
In process state, I think we need to put that,
Why?
because we are doing operation part.
Operation we are doing writing current time and date only in the last step.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Now taking a single file, where we should do this?
Get transaction date.
Yeah, get transaction item. Yeah.
Get transaction. Okay. Now where can we write current date and time?
Process transaction.
Process transaction. Now let's change the scenario. Okay. Understand? I have a Excel and Excel contains 100 items. I need to filter. I need to apply filter and I will get some output. We'll get 50 items. Okay, so I need to process this 50 items. What I need to do is I need to write log for each and every item, or you can just say add two. So let's assume that it is a addition of 2 numbers. First row and the second first column will have. So here it goes. First column will have numbers, one number, first number. Second column will have second number. Okay. And third column will have operands. And I need to filter only addition operand. Okay. After filtering the data, I need to add some print output in log. It's not writing back to Excel. Print output in logs. Now, tell me with respect to RE framework, how can we implement this? Where things should be placed? So what should be the steps? Can you please explain on that?
Firstly, reading the Excel and apply filter through assign activity or select method.
Okay, good.
And
Next, if you can just
in unit
let me
state,
write,
we can
please.
do that.
Let me write, please. Okay, so here we go. Steps. Okay, the first step that you're telling is, what is that? Read Excel.
Yes.
Okay, then
Hello.
Then we need to apply filter
apply filter.
according to operand.
You need to connect your charger.
Is it so? No, I have 18 minutes, so that should be enough. Thank you. Yeah, apply filter next.
Then in get transaction, we need to fetch one
Don't
particular
go
row.
for get transactions and all. I will tell you what how that happens, but tell me just the steps. Apply filter, then After applying filter, what can be the output out of filter?
A data table.
Data table or collection of data rows. Okay, then what's the next step?
Then get one data row.
Get one data row. Okay. Then
And then the business logic comes into picture. That is the
apply some addition. Okay, and write log message. Okay, now let's apply this in RE framework and let's see the steps. Now, which steps should go into init state? Morning. Guys, please tell me. In the init state, which items should go? Which steps should go? Am I on mute or what? Are you chatting? Somehow I'm not able to see it. Yeah, this is getting recorded. Okay. Why did someone mute me? Guys, please don't do that. Can you hear me?
Yes, Vajran.
yes.
Someone muted me. Please don't do it. Okay. Tell me, till what were you able to listen to me? At least tell me that. Hello.
I think when you asked what to do next when you apply filter, get one data row. After that, we are not able to hear anything.
Okay. So after getting one data row, we are getting applying addition and writing the logic. Okay. Now I'm asking you, how can we add these steps in RE framework?
Read Excel and
In-
init state.
Yes, firstly we need to initialize means Excel part, or after that we need to read Excel and apply filter.
Okay.
Yeah, second, third will go into init state.
Second, third will go into init state. But tell me one thing, should we do it every time we get a new transaction?
No,
So where this should be moved to?
init first run.
Exactly. First run should give me all the values with output of the data rows. Okay. Now, next, getting one data row, where that should be applied to?
Get transaction.
Get transaction item. Okay. Now, applying condition and writing log message.
Process.
Process.
Okay. So this is it for today. I'm not adding any more confusion for you, but let's have a quick feedback and then let's close this session. Were you able to understand the concept of RE framework or not? Like what and where things should be placed? I'm stopping the screen share. And yeah, let's start. Hey, okay, my screen share is stopped. Please unmute and talk.
Yes, Vajran, compared to yesterday, it was more clear today. When we were working on example, I think now we can relate to the previous day session.
Yes. So yesterday when I said that we have some steps and everyone is a ticket collector. Now, can you relate that clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Vajra. Yeah, today it, cleared that what things should be included in what stages. It's now, somewhat clear today.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll add write code again. See, I'm trying to explain you more so that you will not have any issues. If you want me to just write the code, I think things will be different. I hope you all understand. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so conceptualize first, understand everything, you can write code easily. Okay, now everyone will be able to convert their codes into RE framework. Just try to apply the logic that we have discussed. Tomorrow we will definitely do all the work and we will try to discuss on. Okay, I'll write steps right now, like what we will discuss tomorrow, so that we'll have a proper agenda. So tomorrow is Saturday. Is it Saturday?
Yes. Yes, Saturday.
But I want to take a session. I'm really checking on how to do this. So the next session will be creating dispatcher, creating performer. Okay. Now, how to add dispatcher and performer in single RE framework. How to divide code separate as separate dispatcher. By the way, this is multi-bot concept. If there is someone who asked you multi-bot, so how you are dividing a current process into multiple different bots. But by now, you should be able to understand how to add dispatcher and performer in single RE framework. Can someone explain or tell me how can we do that? How can we have this? Where can we have dispatcher code?
Sir, where we are running first, unit first one.
In the first run, right? So all the code that runs only once can be a dispatcher that gives the transactions or that gives the path for all the transactions to process. So that is a dispatcher and that should go in first run. Okay, if the dispatcher itself is very big, then we will have it as separate process. Okay, rather than just reading an Excel file, maybe there is an Excel application or there is an external application where we need to segregate all the information. We need to see if the if the application is opened or not, if there is any exception with the application. So the process itself will become bigger, right? Then we will have separate dispatcher code and separate performer code. But right now, till now, whatever we have discussed is a single RE framework with dispatcher and performer code in them. So this
Bajrang, are you saying that in general we have only one dispatcher and multiple performer?
Exactly.
That is the setup we are now seeing.
Correct. Why not? Because just understand, if there are multiple dispatchers, then you also need to see how can you avoid duplication. If you can do that, then it's fine.
So is this like recommended by RA framework that you keep dispatcher in general one or minimum?
See,
and
RE framework will not recommend anything to you. It is just a code or template. You are the developer and you need to recommend whichever is correct for your team.
Okay.
Treat RE framework as just a code, a single line of code where you will use it to perform activities. Don't take it too seriously. It will be very simple. By now, I think you should have understood that. It's not more than just how you understand the code and write the code. Okay. So tomorrow or in the next class, we'll have this discussion. But you work on RE framework first and come with a question. I hope we stayed on the topic today, not deviated any further. This is a bounded topic, so it will stay like that. But if it is an unbounded topic, then questions can come in from anywhere. Okay. So that's it. I'm stopping the screen recording.
Question, one doubt I have.
Yes, tell me please.
Suppose, is there any, can we check screenshots in Orchestrator, exception screenshots?
No.